Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, so let me share the.
You think I could get away with playing music quietly, or do you think YouTube would immediately be
Maybe
like,
maybe if it's your music, like unless you have the yeah you have that on like. But I do think Sonic music, we're probably gonna get shut down for.
I was like, let me see what's playing in VLC Media Player, and it popped up onto the main screen, and I was like, oh no.
Mhm. Hey, Isiah's in chat. How are things going, Scylla? Loving the progress on your game so far.
See, because I mean, I see YouTubers use game music in their videos all the time. But I guess they have the
Yeah,
benefit of being like, if it gets claimed, like as soon as it's uploaded, they can take it down and swap the music with different music and just sort of see what
right.
happens. And with live streams, I don't know that you have that ability.
We should test it out because like it'll at least make the live streams a little bit more fun, like to for folks to go through.
So here's what I will say. A couple years back, I did do a radio stream where I had like a curated playlist of music, game music specifically, and I played it. One of the streams lasted for 48 hours before I took it down myself. Another stream lasted for 12 hours before YouTube claimed it and took it down.
I see.
So I mean, I think I can't tell exactly what the difference was. I think the one that was claimed had Nintendo music. I think that's
Okay,
what
yeah,
that
the
was.
yeah, right. I think we've solved our we've solved our conundrum, right? So I guess you just have to do like obscure, like indie, like
Yeah.
game music, right, for it to not get immediately
I'll
claimed.
get the Tower of Heaven
Um,
soundtrack on.
yeah. Man, like what do you like what if it's classical music, right? Like so like so many games like just reincorporate classical music, like Celeste, right? And things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so like will they claim on the basis like it's this particular version of this classical remix,
So
so we can't
that's
let you play that?
so that's actually a great question. I've looked into that. So the music itself can be like the composition can be public domain, but specific performances can still be copyrighted. However, it is very difficult to claim a copyrighted performance because you would need to prove that it is that performance. It's not, I mean, you know, YouTube's content ID system can be abused. And also, like, you can just be like, I hit play on this recording and it's exactly the same as this other recording, so that's proof. But, like, there is a degree of, like, I mean, maybe I just got a group together and we played it pretty much the same way. Like, there's like a higher, like, reasonable doubt threshold that you need to meet with public domain works.
Isaiah, I have an idea. So on Visual Studio, you know the Solution Explorer. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually like bring that window out and like maybe move that over to your other screen. That way we're maximizing on
Oh,
space.
you're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
right. Yeah. Um, right, so that it's a little bit easier to follow along. If the Solution Explorer stuff becomes relevant, like we'll bring it back on
Yeah,
screen.
yeah.
But for the most part, right, the you can look at the top of the tabs, right, for the names of the specific
Yum.
plugin files that we'll be looking at and editing.
Shout out to
Okay, so let's
script2.js.
hell yeah, script two.
All right. I think we're ready to start. Um,
Should we wait for more folks, or
we
do
can
you want to
wait.
launch in?
I don't know. Maybe I'll. So actually, regarding the content ID stuff in classical music, something I have done in the past is I will find a MIDI of like public domain music, and then I will just assign instruments to it and render that, and now that is my performance of the song, and therefore no one can claim ownership of it, and that's how I get away with
Uh,
playing that
that's
music.
that's pretty clever. Um, So let's give folks like 2 more minutes
Mhm.
because I know Jordan and Fervor really wanted to show up for this stream.
Yeah.
Um, So let's give them a few. So like hang in there, right? We're glad we finally have you stream, not sleeping. Um, right. But yeah, once we uh I think we wait for 2 minutes and then if they show up, if they don't show up, right, we'll just continue with the proceedings. We are covering command windows. Um,
Woo!
yeah, we're already seeing an example of command window, this window item category, right? As you can see, this add command, right, corresponds to a command list. But there's a lot more to them, right? So this will probably be as long as the window selectable one, I expect.
Yep. I
Have you
think it'll be
talked
about as
to
long.
have you talked to folks about like we did handlers, right? Last time.
Yeah, we talked
Okay,
about handlers. I want to refresh people on handlers because it's going to be relevant.
cool. Yeah. So Asila says that they are editing stuff while watching.
All right.
That's always, yeah, like that's a skill, right? Because like I've tried doing like audio editing like while like watching something, and it's like to me it's impossible. 'Cause-
I was just scrolling up to make sure that item category is indeed a command window. And yeah, it belongs to horse command.
oh yeah, we'll have to cover horizontal command, right? As opposed to the regular vertical command.
It's interesting because horse command is actually like very often more used than
Yeah,
regular command.
like item category. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember did for Strive for Cosmos did we use a horse command, right? For the way that we showed the skills.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Although actually no, I think we just used selectable.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just gonna real quick give myself some items to navigate through the windows.
There's a script call that I like to use that like just puts 99 of each item
Oh
right
man,
in for testing. Um,
what's the call?
let me pull it up. I know that we did it for testing for a thing.
Not me making an RPG. Not me making an RPG in my tutorial setup.
Oh no, how dare you make an RPG in RPG Maker? That's heresy.
Look, I've never done it before. I've only made like non RPG games in RPG Maker.
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, Strive Cosmos is a weird one, right?
That's true.
Um, yeah,
Here,
it's still an RPG somehow.
let's have a
Okay.
sailor give me some items.
Yeah, this is a pretty I'll should I post it in chat? Pretty useful script. I don't know how chat will format things, but I'll just post it in here. This will just put like 9 of every item in data items
Oh,
for you.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. We love to see
Yeah.
it. You can just
Let me try posting in chat. Okay, no, it just
yep.
one lines it, which is fine. Yeah, and obviously you can set that to 99, right, or whatever
Yeah.
the item limit is that you have for your game. It's just a good debug thing, right? Make sure that yeah, you have like all the items that you need in order to test.
And this is on category. Okay, let me see.
This is also like this line of code is also early enough because nowadays I would just use a for each.
So I sort of think item category might not be the example that we want to use just because it works a little bit weirdly. I think we should go over it, but I don't think it's the one we want to start with.
Okay. Kit Kat's apparently watching us as well, which is very cool.
All right.
Okay. Let's start the show.
All right. Um,
Isaiah, what is a command window?
Well, real quick, let's summarize very briefly what we went over last time. Last time we talked about window selectable and how to like add things to it. Where you need whenever you create the window in a scene, you want to add a set handler for OK and a set handler for cancel. For those to be things that happen when you hit the OK button and the cancel button. So for example, in scene items create item window, we have item windows set handler. For OK, we have on item OK, which when we do that, we set the last item for the game party, and then we do some other things to make it so that we can use the item in a different menu. What I don't remember if we talked about, if you set handler and there's another button the player can hit, like for example page up, then when the player hits the page up button, it will activate what the function you assign to it. So for selectables and command windows work the same way. It's not just OK and cancel, but it's any symbol that corresponds with an input. So page up, page down are the main other two, and the rest I believe are in yeah. Okay, well, we definitely did go over it because it's already set up here in RPG Core. Any of these
Yeah, RPG
symbols,
Core.
if you hit buttons and they correspond with these symbols, then you can set a handler and add like a special function that gets called. So, window commands work like. Let me find the first instance of window command. So window command works like a window selectable insofar as it is a child of the window selectable class. However, it has a function called make command list, which is empty by default because this function is overridden in all child classes. And this is the function where a bunch of commands are added. And whenever you add a command, you add the name of the command, the symbol associated with it, and then whether or not it is enabled, so whether or not you actually can select it. And a symbol is just like the name of an input in set handler. When you call set handler, let's actually find call handler. So call OK handler is called when you hit OK, obviously, but it calls the call handler function with the symbol for OK. So
One
go ahead.
small clarification I would like to make,
Yeah.
right, is that so the symbol works irrespective of input method. So let's say that you are using touch or versus using keyboard versus using gamepad, it'll be the OK that corresponds with that input method, right? So kind of no matter what, right? It'll work more or less the same way. Touch works slightly differently. We may go over that at a later point, but that's what the symbol handlers are letting you do, right? Is just sort of create what the function is in game so that no matter like how you're handling like how you're interfacing with the game, right, that same result happens each time.
So so essentially with a normal command, when you add a command, you want to add the text that displays followed by the symbol, which is essentially a string that we look for to determine what is associated with this command. With a selectable window, that string is necessarily an input string, like OK or cancel. So let's look at an example of where add command is added. Window menu command might obscure things a little bit, so let's look at not game end. Title command is a great example. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this game, and we can see make command list contains 3 functions for add command. Text manager.new game, which is stored inside the database. I can find that should be in terms. I'm pretty sure.
We should also show it in RPG managers, right? Like where all of this stuff is set up
Yum.
in data.
Should be Not.
But yeah, so no. So look at commands.
Mhm.
There's that table, and then go all the way down.
Ah,
All the way down,
yes,
you'll see
yes.
new
Thank
game,
you.
continue, to title, cancel. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is where text manager is storing this information. I'm not sure why there's an underscore in continue. I guess there are probably two continues to reference. And so if I were to change this in the code, or if I were to change, this, then it would change what's displayed here. And then the command is new game versus continue versus options. And then you can see the continue has another parameter that is being added to the add command function, and that is continue enabled, which we can see right now checks to see if any save file exists, and returns true if it does and false if it doesn't. So if we go into add command, you can see that enabled is a Boolean value. It's either true or false. And if we look over here, if no enabled value is defined, then we just set the enabled value to true. And if enabled is true, then I can hit the button and actually do things with this command. If not, then when I try and hit it, it'll give me an error. Let me go ahead and turn the sound effects on. There's that pleasant error sound. So let's go back to window title command so we can see sort of more about how this works. And then with title command, when we process OK, let's find window title command. Here we go. So we can see we make command list, and here are the symbols new game, continue, and options. And now when we create the window title command, we set a handler for new game, continue, and options. And command options is super simple. It closes the command window and then pushes scene options. You can verify this if I go to options. It closes the window and then it goes to the options menu. And
That is pretty neat that it's a separate scene, right? It's not just a window within scene title.
yes, and you can actually tell it's a different scene because something that different scenes do is they will blur the background of the previous scene, and so you can see here's a nice crisp background, and then this closes, and then it takes a snapshot, and now the background is blurring, and when we go back, it's crisp again. Command continue will push scene load, so I can't show you that without saving first. And then and then new game will set up a new game, close the window, and then fade out and then load the map. So we can see all of that happen in fast motion. If I hit new game, it closes, it fades out, and then we go to the map. I don't know why it had to. I don't know what images it had to load that it took a second with the now loading screen. But we can see that essentially, and then window title command is also doing something with last command symbol that determines what the last thing called was, and so if I boot up the game, new game is enabled, but if I go to options and then back out, I'm still at options, because whenever you process OK, we save the symbol to window title command last command symbol. Now notice this is window title command dot last command symbol, not dot prototype dot last command symbol, and that is because, well, the prototype, all of these functions and all of these variables belong to instances of an object. Window title command you can think of as the static class. So this is a static data member that all instances of the title command have access to. So this variable
This
is.
might be
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. This might be the first time that we've actually run into that. It's kind of so far.
Yeah.
So far we've been, I think, dealing the most with our global variables. So could you briefly explain what you mean by static, right, as it applies to sort of class-based kind of stuff?
Okay, yeah. So generally speaking, a static data member is a more traditional programming term that is not really used in JavaScript because JavaScript is, well, I'm trying to come up with a polite way to say JavaScript is a bonkers programming
It's
language.
weird. It's weird. It's so weird, folks.
So normally, if you have and let me make a new file for this. So normally, what you have is, oh, come on, there we go. So normally I'll say var obj equals new object, and then obj has variable, you know. So now if I want to access obj dot variable, I could say, console dot log. Oh Jesus. Well, pretend I spelled that correctly. um, console.og9. So you can have that object, and then that object is variables, and then I can say obj.foo equals function, and then I can call that function somewhere, and that's all well and good. But the classes that we have are not just here's an object named obj. The classes that we have are saying, okay, I want to create, this is a template. Window title command is a template for an object. So if I say var command window equals new window title command, now I've taken the template and I've created a new instance of that. Now, if I say var command window 2 equals new window title command, there we go. Now these are two separate objects. So if I say command window dot x equals 11 and command window 2 dot x equals 309, no 310, that's allowed. Command window 1, which I'll rename for convenience, that is a separate x value from command window 2. This all makes perfect sense because these are two separate objects. However, they all have properties, they all have the same behavior as each other. But if I were to say command window 1 dot last command symbol, it's so I couldn't say command window 1 dot last command symbol because
No, you would need to do it at the class level, right? So it would
yeah,
be window title command dot last command symbol.
I would have to get the, essentially I would have to get it from the template itself and not from an individual object that belongs to that template. And there's only one version of window title command last command symbol. No matter how many instances of the object that we have, each one of them has their own x value, their own y value, their own, like symbols, their own openness, their own like select last function, and all of that. And I could even say command window 1 dot init command position equals function, and I could redefine that function. You can see, so let's actually change window width instead because that's a slightly better example. So window command 1 dot window width equals return let's say 500. So now if you were to get the width of command window 1, you would get 500 instead of the default, which is 240. So I've overridden the template function. However, window 2 still has the original template function because it's a separate object. I'm only overriding the function that belongs to this specific object, as opposed to last command symbol belongs to the entire class. It belongs directly to the template. Is this
So what would be some uses for like a static variable like this?
Yeah, well, we can look at last command symbol as an example, where we can see, so right now when you create Well, okay. So right now, when window title command is defined, this function is called. At least I'm pretty sure it's called somewhere. Um, that sets the
It'll
yeah
be
here we
called
go.
in the scene. Yeah.
So it's called in.
Wait, hold up. How are you able to search multiple, like multiple
Oh, it's
files?
because I'm the coolest. It's because I
Okay,
have Control Shift F, find and replace. I look in entire workspace. I don't
I
work
see.
look
Okay,
in current project or all open documents, and that works because I have instead of open project solution, I open by folder for RPG Maker. RPG Maker does not like project solution, but if I open by folder, then everything works okay.
okay. No notes for folks to take home if you're doing plugin editing. This is extremely useful, right? It will bother you to no end if you just have to control F each file, right? That
Yeah.
sucks. Don't do that.
So you notice when we call the command that pushes the scene menu, when we go to the scene menu, we call this before we've created an instance of window menu command. So that way, when we go to the scene, it's already initialized. And then what happens next is whenever we say okay, it saves what our last command was, and then select last, where's that called? That is called on initialize. So as soon as the window is created, we select the last instance that exists, unless the instance or unless the command symbol is not defined, such as when you're first booting up the game, and then we select symbol continue if continue is enabled, and if not, then we just don't do anything, and it'll automatically select new game because that's the first option.
So to close out the discussion on static variables, again, you won't run into these too much if you're working within JavaScript, but the place you will run into these in RPG Maker is if you look in RPG managers, right? Because as opposed to windows and scenes, right, where you are working with instances of things, with managers, right, and databases, you're largely working with only one of a thing,
Yeah,
right? When you're doing like game programming, there's a format of game programming that's pretty useful for indie games called singletons, right? Which is just like the class that is the only like sort of instance of itself, right? That you can use to sort of manage different things in your game, right? So yeah, like as I say, as up, storage manager is one of them, right? I think data manager's another
yeah.
one, text manager is another one. You
All of
really only need one of these,
yeah.
right?
Okay, Discord appears to have crashed. So apologies for that. Um, give me 1 second. I'll come back online. While we're waiting, I will point out. So Sound Manager, the comment says the static class plays sound effects when defined in the database. It is calling itself a static class. And normally, if I were to say, new window title command, there's, we can create a new instance. However, if you were to say new Sound Manager, var sm equals new Sound Manager, you can see that this would throw a new error because you are not supposed to create a new instance of the Sound Manager. As soon as you define the Sound Manager, you already have access to all of the functions because they're all static functions. So you don't need to create a new one. Excuse me, let me quickly move Discord out of that out of the active window. My apologies. Hello, Neil. We're back.
Okay, excellent.
So the
I
good
think you
news,
briefly showed us your friends list on
I
stream.
I did, I did. I would have
Yeah,
liked for Discord streamer mode is enabled. I would have liked streamer mode to be a little bit better than that because there were some names that just straight
yeah.
up did not truncate.
hmm we may need to go back and edit the VOD for privacy reasons.
Yeah,
Okay,
we may need
so
to
go
do
ahead and
that.
screen share. Yeah, go ahead and screen share on my side. so
Yeah.
that I can kind of follow along. And then folks in chat, just let us know if the stream has started back up for you. And once we have that confirmed, let's actually start editing like window title command and make our own commands. How does that sound?
All right. I am
Okay.
now streaming once more. This time I'm
Yes.
streaming without audio, hopefully to minimize the because last time I shared my stream, like last time I tried to stream my entire screen on Discord, it also caused this crash. So I'm not sure.
So so is it that we won't be picking up audio from you?
No, you won't be picking up audio from my screen in Discord. OBS is
I
still
see, I
running
see.
fine.
Okay, excellent. So Isla has mentioned that the stream did not crash,
Yeah.
which is good. I'm glad we don't have to like split the VOD. But yeah, let's in that case, yeah, let's kind of carry on. So we'll talk about managers and stuff in the future if you all are interested. They're pretty big part of not just RPG Maker, but just game engines, right? And hopefully, you all get the chance to make a game that you decide, hey, I want to make a manager, right? Because that's when you get to do like a bunch of really fun stuff. But for now, let's head back to window title command because we're gonna start editing it.
Let me actually, because I have some ideas as to what to do with window actor command, if that's all right.
You want to skip ahead to that? I thought we could potentially like show like if we added like commands to window title command, that would be just like a fun way like to kind
Yeah,
of
yeah. Let's let's
show it.
let's
But
do
like
that.
yeah. Hmm.
Because it's super simple. So we can say I'm gonna say var window title command equals sorry, not window title command, make command list. It's important to get the entire function and class name in that. So we equals that, and then so now we have a copy of the original function, and then we can call the original function. And then let's say this dot add command, and we'll say what should our new command be?
Could it be, and I hope this doesn't take too much time to make, just something that shows like date and time?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, let's say date.
like in the console, right? Like I don't want I don't think we need like a separate window that pops up like
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
do
I
this.
think you're probably right
Unle-
about that. Um, and then we'll want to do the same thing with here. I'll move scenes over here so we can use it as a reference, and we can say var scene title create command window equals create command window equals function. And then
One question, Isaiah.
yeah,
The scene title BG, is that a sprite?
scene title BG should be background. Yeah.
Okay. Could we just draw text to it? We should be able
Um.
to because there is the thing that draws the project title right on it.
Yeah, we can. We have access to game title sprite.
Yeah.
Or no, we want back sprite. That's what we want.
Yeah.
And then we'll say so this dot command window dot set handler, and then we've got date as our string, and they want to say this dot command date dot bind this. And then finally, we need to define scene title dot prototype dot command date equals function. And we'll say let's take a look at how new game continuing options work. So new game, we can say it sets up a new game, it closes the command window, it fades out, it goes to scene map. So it doesn't. We don't need to worry about. We don't need to say this dot command window dot deactivate, because whenever we call a handler, it automatically deactivates. Now that may not be something that we want with command date, because that could end up with a soft lock since we're not navigating to a new window. So we want to say this dot command window dot activate to undo the effects of that deactivation. And then how do we get the date and time in JavaScript? It should just be new date.
I believe you can get date.now, right? That's let me just check what I did for like a lerp function, because we're using that for that.
Yeah. And then for right now, I'm going to say console.log date just to make sure that we've got that, working well.
Okay, so date.now will return milliseconds, and you will just need to format that. What's a easy way to format it?
Great question.
Let's see if there's others. So it's set hours UTC date. That's set UTC though. And then you need to use a date object. There's get date. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. So get date is if there already exists a date object. Why can't this be simple?
JavaScript get current date.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, half of programming is Googling stuff. Never let anyone. Apparently, if you just make a new date, it automatically initializes with the current date.
Okay, all right.
That's extremely convenient.
Sometimes JavaScript works out.
Yeah. So I'll say command edit is the name of the plugin that I just made. So now, boom, new game continue options date. Let me open up the console log to make sure that it's working correctly. And oh my god, it even says my time zone. All right.
All right, we are fully doxing Isaiah. This.
I dragged the window in before I realized that. So that's neat.
Right. So cool. We got it show up in the console. Could we draw to the title screen? Right?
Absolutely. Let's see.
I believe that should be fairly simple to set up.
I think it's so let's okay. So let's console log.date.get full year is what maybe I want more than, or no, get date I think is probably fine. So we want to draw that on the background.
Yeah, in the we want to use a method similar to what. So for folks watching the VOD, right, or in chat, so you probably notice how RPG Maker will take the image background and then will draw the project name, right, that you specify on top of it, right, using game font. And this is a thing that you can. There's a checkbox, right, within the database. So we want to use a function similar to that to just write the date, right, in the format that we want on the title screen itself, right? You can potentially do other fun things, such that like every time you interact with a date, it draws to like a random part of the screen, right? And like maybe changes the color of the text. But for now, we just want it to draw on screen itself. Not in a window, by the way. We are just taking the background sprite and we're drawing on top of it, because you can do that with pretty much any sprite object.
Let me see if we can get time, because current date is just giving us the day of the month it is. Oh, get hours, get minutes, get seconds. Cool. So var time, equals date dot get hours plus date dot get minutes.
By the way, to potentially avoid the little mishap that happened earlier, I think this is why like Pirate Software recommends like just working on like a separate setup.
Yeah,
when streaming.
I think maybe you're right. So it doesn't draw onto the background, but I think that's because the background is we're using background 2. Maybe if I use backsprite 1, maybe that would work a
Yeah,
bit better.
because if you all remember, the background is actually composed of two images. One of them is the base image, and then the other one is the frame that is usually put on top of it. I don't see a lot of folks using the frame, right? But like, there are two images, and like my guess is if we don't use a frame, right? So like that image isn't there, so it's not like there's no uh space to necessarily draw that on.
Let me also make sure I'm
So
formatting the draw text function correctly. Um, just to make sure that's not an issue. So we've got text XY max width line height align. So for line height, I don't want 100, I want 20. And then let's see what happens. All right, it is.
we did it.
It's a little stretched, but it works.
Yeah, we may want to move it and like increase the width, but yeah, I think go ahead and make those changes. And
Say
yeah, so this is an example of like we just added a new command, right, to this command window, um, and it does a thing that is kind of completely separate, right, to um, what the base functions are, right? So this is how easy command windows can be to edit. The commands are essentially modular, right? And so long as like you put them, they'll show up in that list.
Now I will point out that because we're drawing something and then we're not erasing anything,
Yeah,
it
we
just
need
draws on top of itself.
we do need we do need to clear it. But again, that's more advanced stuff, right? We'll worry about that later.
Yeah. So now that we've done that to scene title, let's go on to let's drag scenes back over here, and then windows, and let's take a look at window actor command, because actor command and party command are two windows that are often ignored to a certain extent. So if I talk to this bat, the bat does not have a battle set up. So let me set up a battle.
Right, because I think the bat like just had like the vendor items, right,
That's right, yeah.
before I gave you the little key that like allows you to put all the items.
So if I talk to this bat, the bat emerges, and that's a window, and that's fine. And then we have fight and escape. And what fight and escape, that only opens once across all four party members. If I hit fight, then we go to Harold, and Harold will guard, and then it goes to Therese, and then it'll go to Marcia, etc., etc., etc. So this is the party command, because it is the command window for the entire party. This is the actor command, because it is the command for just the individual actor. But let's say I wanted, for example, escape to be in the actor command window. How would I go about doing that? Well, it's actually fairly simple. Let me make sure that can escape is enabled in the first place, or else the whole thing's going to be for naught. Can escape, boom, done, and save.
The other thing that I would recommend is just check the escape skill in the database, so that we have that ID.
Yeah. So let's say window party command. That's command escape, and that's going to be process escape, which is in Battle Manager. Skills escape is number 6. Okay.
Cool.
So I'll want to go window actor command, and let's take a look at its make command list. So it looks like this command list actually calls a couple different functions. So add attack command always adds attack command. Add skill command adds a series of commands based on the amount of skill types that you have access to.
So this is stuff like magic skill, things like that, right? Different characters, or based on their class, right, may have a list of different skill types, right, that like make up their skill pool. This just accounts for like any number of that. So either you have a class that doesn't have any of it, or has like 5 different types of skills. It'll just list them one after the other.
Yeah. So guard adds the guard command, and then item adds the item command. So that's all nice. Maybe I want the escape button to be directly underneath the attack button, or maybe directly underneath the skill commands. Let's say. Um,
What
so,
if we replace guard?
ooh, that's great. In that case, we can do something very, very evil, where we say guard command equals function, and we don't get a copy of the original function and call it because we don't want the original function's behavior. And this is evil because any plugin that the user is using that has the guard command that is overriding and adding new functionality to the guard command, all of that is now immediately undone because we have forgotten everything that has happened up until this point. Um,
So just to be so the way you should try to write code, right? And obviously, like they're different philosophies, right? But try to write it in a way that, like, if another programmer came along, right, they would not be extremely confused by what you're doing. So if we were to go down this path, right, of replacing guard with escape, that works for us, right? Whoever's looking at this next is gonna be in for a bit of a shock, right? So let's do it the sort of fast way, and then we'll come back and do it the proper way, right? Or the way that is nicer.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. So real quick, I'm gonna go and we're gonna see fight escape. Now we've got attack magic escape. Great. So I'm gonna hit escape, and nothing happens. In fact, the OK button, like the OK sound plays, but nothing happens. And why is that? Because we've added the command, but we don't actually have a handler set for it. So let's go into RPG scenes and we'll say, okay, we understand what command escape does. That's great. But let's find the actor command window, and now we need var scene battle create actor command window. I'll spell it right one of these days. And then we redefine it. We call the original function. And then we can say this dot actor command window dot set handler escape, and then this dot command escape dot bind this. Make sure I didn't misspell escape. Looks good to me. We'll see if it looks good to the computer. Now, I don't have to write a new command escape because command escape already exists. It says process escape and change input window. So I hit save on the wrong the wrong plugin, but that's completely fine. So now if I go in and I can say bat emerge, fight escape, now we've got attack, magic escape. Harold's party started to escape. Boom, done. It's just that simple. So now you can have
Okay.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so now you can trigger an escape from the actor commands instead of the party commands. But what if you only wanted Harold to escape? How do we
Ooh,
do that?
that's a great question. So, let's take a look at add skill. This is the wrong file. Let's take a look at add skill commands. So, the actor has a list of skill types, and the skill types are sorted based on their IDs to make sure that they're always in the same order. And then we add a command for each skill type. So this is an array of variables that the actor has access to. So if I were to go in the console and I were to say, apparently when you zoom in enough, the underscore disappears. That's interesting. Trust that there is an underscore. He only has access to one skill type, but it's an array of skill types. So we could give, for example, we could have game dot not game prototype, game actor dot prototype dot can escape. Let me make sure that this doesn't already exist. Nope, I've invented it. The battle manager has a can escape equals function, and we'll say return this dot uh, actor ID, and I believe that's a function. Let me double check. Actor ID equals function. Yep. Return this dot actor ID. We want parentheses equals 1. So if the actor ID is 1, then you can escape. If not, then you can't. So now what we can do is we can
So
say, oh, go ahead.
So slight clarification. So what this would do is essentially check if Harold is the one initiating the escape, and if so, then enable the escape. What I meant was, could we set it up such that when Harold hits escape, Harold runs away, the rest of the party stays.
Oh, okay, okay, I understand. Um, I actually don't remember the way to do that in RPG Maker.
So the way that you do that is no, because if you did the escape flag, right, even if it targets user, it hits the entire party.
Yeah.
I believe, right? Okay. All right. So maybe that's a thing that's a little bit too advanced to kind of pull off right now. So instead, okay. So rather than like doing the individual escape, right? What if we let's clean up our code a little bit.
Mhm.
So I spoke previously that like, hey, if you do it under add guard command, that's good to get it working. But for a future programmer, such as your future self, right, that may be confusing. So why don't we override make command list, right? And remove a guard command and then put add escape command, right? Maybe under the item command.
Mhm.
How does that sound?
Yeah. So in that case, what we'd want to do is we'd say var window actor command make command list equals function. Uh, Actually, it doesn't equal function. It equals this, and then this equals function. So we call the original one dot call this.
We may actually not want to call the original one. The reason for this is we want to take out guard command, right? If you call the original one, it does add guard command if I read the code correctly.
Yeah. So I'm actually so this is actually an interesting point because if you because I believe the reason that these functions are functions instead of just saying because add attack command just adds the command, add the guard command just adds the command. Why not just have, why not just arrange your original function so that it's built this way, right? And the reason it's not just built this way is because it's better to override add guard command than make command list if your goal is to change what guard command is doing or remove
Right.
the guard command from it in the first place.
but we're but essentially we're adding a new function, right? Which is add escape command, right? We don't want to do the thing we're doing with guard command. For example, let's say you put in like a Yanfly plugin, right, or a Hime plugin, right? And they are doing something special with guard command, right? Like guard for them like works like cover, right? Does for like in Cecil for Final Fantasy IV, right? Like so, guard isn't just like waiting their turn; it is substituting kind of instead. And they have some like special kind of like functions kind of for that. So we want to like keep the guard command function around, right? So that somebody down the plugin stream can override it. What I'm suggesting is we create a new command function, but we edit the list, right? So that so that for our particular game, right, we want attack skill item escape. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but generally, and the what I want to caution against is doing something like, and then we'll say add escape command, and this is generally like what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, this way, guard command still exists, right? So that like if you need to go back to it later or something like that. Now I understand like why like directly overriding, right? That function is bad, right?
Hmm.
But I also don't see a way to like calling the original function but taking out guard command after you've called it, right?
Yeah,
Um, right. So in order to kind of prevent that, I think we do have to do it this way for this example.
yeah, And this can cause problems with some plugins where extra commands are added if this plugin is placed underneath those plugins. So in a case like that, you would want to put this plugin above those plugins in order to prevent their work from being undone.
Okay, so let's compromise, right? So let's say that okay, after all, guard command is in, and we want to put escape command after everything. So how would we go? How would we go about doing that?
Yeah. So in that case, then we would want access to the original function. We want to call that, and then we don't want to repeat these three because they've already happened once. We do still want the if this actor because I'm just assuming there's a good reason that this check happens. Probably exists to like prevent some kind of error. So we want to make sure that we're doing the same check, and then we call this dot add escape command underneath. If I hit save, then when I go into a battle, what we should expect to see is we should expect to see 5 different commands where we've got attack, magic guard, item, and escape.
Nice.
And that's exactly what we see. And then we can still guard if we need to. And then if Lucius escapes, then like we won't get to see this turn. But there you go.
Okay. So now that we have escape on the actor command window, let's do the coup de grace that we've been building up to.
Yes.
So this is the part of the stream that like, hey, if you're like coming in from the future, hello. We're gonna show you how to skip the party command window. This is the most popular request, right? That comes up constantly for new people, right? Working in RPG Maker, and I am actually kind of surprised that like there isn't just the go-to solution the community has for this.
Yum.
So we're gonna show you. We're gonna show you how to just skip the party command window and do it properly, right? Because there are ways of skipping it initially, but like if you cancel, you go back to it, right? We don't want that, right? We just want to go directly, right, to the actor command windows because we already have escape, and we are presuming that by default you want to fight, right? So there's no real need to have the party command window.
Yeah.
So Isaiah, how would you go about doing that?
So and I will say you're gonna want to help me out on this because you told me that there was something you found in our implementation of 160's version of that.
So that error only happens because we're doing card shenanigans, right?
Okay,
If you
that
just
makes
do
sense.
it that way, right? If you just do it that way, I do believe it'll work, but we should do some testing, right, just to make sure that this is a safe solution.
Okay. So, let's check out where scene battle create party command window is. And that's it, create all windows. Okay, that checks out. Command fight is the thing that says, okay, select next command. Interesting. So, if I hit OK, select next command does this. What does select next command do? So it says battle manager next command and change input window. Change input window. What does that do? Let's find out. So if battle manager is inputting and the actor there is an actor for the battle manager, then we start the actor command selection. Otherwise, we start the party command selection. Okay. So start party command selection. We're going to want to eventually replace this with start actor command selection. Refresh status, deselect the status window, close the actor command window, and then party command window dot set up. So now we can go into Windows. Set up. Window actor command. No, we want the party command version. Clear command list, make command wish, select, activate, open. Okay. So where is the actor assigned in all of this? Because when we start party command selection, we check to see if battle manager.actor exists. But when we say on, what was it, command fight, we just select next command, right?
Yes, that's at least the solution that you went with for CGC.
So yeah, I think if we, whenever we need to, um, create party command window.
Yeah. So like the one approach would be you have the start, all right, start party command selection.
Yeah,
Just having like at that point just calling you can either call command
here we
fight
go.
or battle manager dot right this yeah, and that would essentially be a solution to at least get you to the actors command menu, but you have to be careful because you actually need to seal off the ability to cancel from the actor command menu and go back to the party, right?
So
Right.
let's see
So
what
there's sort of
happens.
two steps to the solution.
So we do see, and then if I hit back, then it tries to go back, but then immediately as soon
Ah,
as we open
because
the
yeah, because it'll go to start, right? So one last test you want to do for this is go through a full turn.
yes, of course. So I'll have these guys attack, and it's frozen.
Okay, all right, we found a bug.
Let's find out why that's happening. Let me quick undo what I did to make sure that that's what's caused the issue. You attack, you attack, you attack, you attack. And it's not frozen. So, what happened? Let me real quick make sure we can replicate it. And of course these guys die instantly. Nothing happens. Okay. So, is this an issue where and I'm like I fully don't remember how we did it in card game combat. So, my apologies.
So my guess is that it might be a loop issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that like once a turn is processed, it just keeps doing that over and over again, right? So maybe there's a way um, to kind of restrict that.
Where is start actor command selection called? It is called in change input window. Okay. So battle manager dot actor. Let's find out because I think there's an issue where battle manager dot actor doesn't exist. Where's okay. So battle manager dot change actor. That's maybe where we want to look. So when we clear actor, it's -1. I don't think that's what we want. Select next command, changes it to the next one. Selects previous command, changes it to the previous one. Is change actor -1 what we want? Last actor equals this one. Actor index. If new actor, then we set the state action to inputting. So if it's -1, then we don't. Oops, I typed that in wrong.
If you need some time to like look up the solution, we can do sort of our first break now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we do need to read the code a bit, right, to sort of figure out kind of how we did it last time. But that's sort of the goal, right? Like, is we want to kind of present like something that's kind of useful, right, that you can easily implement, right, kind of on your end.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take a quick break so I can make sure that we're prepared when we come back. Okay, we're back, and that was fun. We had
Yeah, yeah.
um
Let's just quickly do like an audio check, right, before we're
yeah,
back
good call.
back.
Good call.
Yeah,
So let me
yeah.
undo
Audio
everything
seems to
I've
be
done
okay.
so far, and then undo everything I've done. Um, So,
Okay. Yeah. So we ran into an error, and Isaiah, could you explain
yeah.
why we were running into a perpetual loop?
So here's the issue. Command fight, that's good. That was supposed to happen. I'm gonna hit Control Save, Control S, and what's gonna happen is we're gonna end up in an issue where we go into a battle and then we say, okay, guard, 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 guard. What's going on? Why isn't the battle happening? Well, what if I were to say scene manager dot scene dot party command window dot open? It's still active. We didn't deactivate it. And so because we didn't deactivate it, it thinks a window is active, and therefore it's waiting for all of the windows to become deactivated before it starts the turn. So if I just hit A
One way
again,
that
it works.
one way that we probably could have found this out, right, is that yeah, exactly, right? Like if we just tested input, right, like that would have like pushed it
So I'm
further.
pretty sure in order for an input to work, it needs to be open. So I'm hitting OK right now and it's not working. But if I open it now, it'll work. And that's because in order, an input requires that it is both active and open. So the solution to this is extremely simple. This dot party command window dot deactivate. Boom, done. We might be able to say, okay, if we look into party command window dot setup, if we were to remove these, or if we were to probably just remove party command window dot setup, let's test to make sure that would work. Guard, 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 and it totally works. So here's what I think is the clean
Yeah.
way to do this.
So what is the least destructive way to do this, right? Because
Yes,
you don't want to be editing like the RPG Maker main plugin stuff generally, right?
absolutely.
So we want an external plugin that you can just slap on, right? And it does this basic functionality. Now, will this play nice with other plugins? We don't know, right? So definitely worth testing out. But we want to give you the one size fits all solution for just default RPG Maker MV.
So this is
And
called
notice I'm mentioning MV, right? MZ might have like additional steps or something that we have not considered. So if this doesn't work for MZ, we'll get to MZ in a future video.
So there are two ways to do this cleanly. I'm going to show you the most clean, the way that is least likely to cause problems with other plugins, and then I'm going to show you the one that makes me personally happiest. So the one that is least likely to cause problems is to do this, call this, and then we say this dot command fight, and then we say this dot party command window dot deactivate. And this is one function. It's super clean. It adds two extra lines. It adds two extra lines to a function that already exists. That's all that it does. Let me make sure that I've properly control V'd on RPG scenes. So if I were to say, okay, boom, we're going to go into party command window disable, hit OK, hit save. If I were to go in, we should see bat emerged, attack magic guard, 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 and it works. So this is the one function solution. It's super clean. However, there's a version that makes me a little bit happier, and I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. So instead of calling party command window dot deactivate, we want to take party command window dot prototype dot setup equals function, and it just doesn't do anything, and it's just an empty function. Now, the reason we're okay with doing this is because if we want to skip the party command window entirely, we don't need to worry about other plugins that do interesting things with it. There might be some niche circumstances in which we have to worry about that. Like if the party command window is doing something, like it's performing some behavior in the background, but generally you don't want a window to be making that kind of behavior. You'd want some other kind of object involved doing that. So I feel comfortable saying, so if we don't do this, if we comment this out and then uncomment this out, what is happening is start party command selection, which is in RPG scenes, is calling all of these functions, including party command window.setup. Then party command windows setup is doing all of these functions, including activate and open. And then deactivate is being called. Command fight is closing the window. And that's a lot of things that are happening. So if we comment this out and then uncomment these things out, what's happening is starts out very similar. Start party command selection is called, and then start party command window.setup is called, and that's an empty function. And then command fight is called. So all of this is just being completely not called, and then we don't have to worry about calling deactivate because it's never activated in the first place. So if anybody saw the recent Pan and Koic video on invisible walls, where they talk about how Mario's hat is being taken off and put back on every frame, if we have this instead of this, then what's happening is the window's being activated and deactivated within a single frame, just like Mario's hat. And it's easier just to skip that entirely by just never taking Mario's hat off in the first place.
Before we pat ourselves on the back too much, let's test this out. And I want to run through a couple tests, right?
Yeah.
So we've been just auto guarding, right? Let's try sort of a bunch of different things for each one of our party members.
Yeah. So let's
right.
heal.
So let's heal and then let's go to the magic scene and then back out, right? And then does that accidentally reactivate, right? Party window.
Yeah. So
let's go to the item window, right? So test each one of those out, including our escape one.
That's true. So I can confirm.
No, don't.
Yeah, I just wanted. We can take a couple turns.
Yeah.
So I wanted to confirm that if I had something and then I backed out, it would be completely fine. It doesn't enable, it doesn't open the window. If I go into items, I don't have any items. So I'll have Herald Guard, and then Therese can attack, and then I'll hit back and back and back, and it's all good. Herald will guard, Therese can't use any items, then we go back and back and back, and it's all good. I'll have everybody guard except for Lucius will heal. Herald attacks and it kills the guy. And then boom, the party window is still gone.
Okay. So the last test I would like you to do, and folks, if you ever wonder why our plugins take a while to come out, it's because of me, right? It's because I make sure that Isiah runs through this terrible gauntlet.
Neil makes sure the plugins actually work.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's complete this fight and then start a new fight, right?
Absolutely.
In order to see if, yeah. So this is a fairly important one. This is one that, for example, if Rabso were in chat, would go after me for odometer, right? Because this is one of those checks that I didn't do in odometer, which is test across multiple fights, test for actors being added, like a kind of after the fact, right? So there's sort of a gauntlet of tests every time you make a plugin, right? There's a gauntlet of tests you want to run through, right? So that you are sure it just works with default RPG Maker, right? And then from there, you have to worry about compatibility. That's more advanced, right? Like for personal plugins, that really doesn't matter like all that much, right? But just make sure that under different conditions, things still work. So we're actually gonna do a compatibility test now. Does our skip plugin work with our command edit plugin?
That's a great question.
Let's find out.
So let's turn on command edit.
So if you remember, the command edit plugin adds escape command, right, to the actual command list. So we're actually going to test doing an escape using our system. Does it break anything?
So we've got attack, magic guard, item, and escape. And if I hit back, it just goes straight to Herald. And if I hit escape, Herald's party has started to escape and enter a new battle, and everything seems to be working.
Yeah, so there you go. A two-function solution, right? And I do agree with Isaiah that like the setup thing is much neater. Yeah, this is an optimization thing, but try to minimize like the total number of function calls because like those do add up, right? The engine can do thousands of function calls, right? But like there are places where you can be like, hey, does this need to be 10,000 function calls or could it only be 500, right? And it turns out your frame rate will thank you for that.
Yes. And you know, we're saving like 6 function calls, which is not that big of a deal. But it's good practice because 6 function calls over the course of, you know, maybe 80,000 lines of code turns into 600 function calls.
Okay. So yeah, so we've taken a look at title command, we've taken a look at actor command. As I do, we want to check out I think it's one of the item menus, right? Well, horizontal command. Like, do we want
Oh
to check
yeah.
that out? Maybe.
So let's check out item command or item category.
Item category is
Yeah.
a good horizontal command.
So let me real quick. Let's start a new game and then let me add a bunch of items so that I have. If I go into items, I've got 9 of everything. Well, I have 9 items. I still don't have weapons or armor. So for that, I'll have to talk to this handy sailor. So we can see that each category has a different category of items, and without selecting anything, I don't have to select anything for it to do it. Just scrolling through updates the list of items. So let's take a look at how that's done. Let's go to Window Item Category in Windows, and in RPG Scenes, let's take a look at where Window Item Category is added. So this is interesting, right? Window Item Category belongs to Hors Command, which, let's just real quick verify, is a child of Window Command. Its main thing is that it's horizontal instead of vertical. And that's pretty much it. It just sets the number of visible rows to 1, the number of columns to 4, and it center aligns the text. But if we go to create category window, it only sets OK and cancel. So what's going on here? First, let's say in the update function, we check to make sure the item window exists, and then we set the category to the current symbol. Now we know what the current symbol is, should just be whatever the symbol is whenever you select it. Current data dot symbol. It says if index is greater than 0, then it equals to this list index. So basically, if we go to window item category, we've got item, weapon, armor, key item. Those are symbols. So when I'm selecting item, the current symbol is item. When I select weapon, the current symbol is weapon, and so on. So in the update function, which is called every frame, then we check to see if the item window exists. If it does, then we set its category to the current symbol. And I'm willing to bet, without checking the code, therefore being unfalsifiably true, that if I were to look at set category in the item window, what it would do is it would create a new item list based on what the current category is. So it has a list of all the items, and then it pairs that list down to items that fit the current category based on the symbol that it's handed. So that's really neat. So when we hit OK, the scene calls on category OK, which just activates the item window and then selects the last selected item. So this is a command window in which no matter which symbol you are on, when you hit OK, instead of that symbol having a function assigned to it, we just call the OK handler, but the item window already has something set up based on what symbol you had previously selected. So it does the same thing no matter what you hit OK on, but what information you have access to is based on what item you had selected. So I would consider this sort of the halfway between a window selectable and a window command.
Yeah. So other places you can find horizontal command is if you've ever looked at the shop menu, right? That has a similar like kind of setup. I believe Scene Equip also
Yeah.
has this because it has equip, optimize, and clear. So there's a lot of utility right for this. So one thing, Isaiah, that let me know if you have time for. So I would like to edit the item category window, and I'd like to include a new category. So it's cool and all that it filters, but what if I just want to see everything
Ah.
in my inventory? How would we go about doing something like that?
So let's say, let's make a new plugin for this because everything that we're doing is accomplishing something different. So let's say var window item category make command list equals, and then the classic, copy the function, redefine it, call the original function. Everybody's favorite. Now we'll add
We
this.
we should make a macro for that.
That's a hard thing to make a macro for, I think.
Well, so like, could you do it like so long as you define like the variable name that you're going to put it into? I
Yeah.
guess you have to feed it like what the function target is, right? Um, Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, if we can find a way to make a macro, then that'll save us a lot of time.
That's that's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's that we do this so much.
So, and that's pretty much all we need to do with window item category. In fact, I don't think we need to do anything with, here, let's find window item category. I don't think we need to do anything with scene shop either. I think the next place we need to look is item window set category. So, this dot category, if it's not equal to the category, set it to the category, then refresh and reset the scroll. So, what does item lists refresh look like? Make item list. That checks out. That's going to be maybe where we want to look. So we scroll through the data. We say, so we scroll through the item. Sorry, this is skill list, not item list. My bad. So we go through gameparty.allitems.filter function item, return this dot includes item. If this includes null, then we push null. So there are a couple ways we can do this. I'm going to do this in a slightly different way than maybe I would recommend. So let's go to window item list, make item list equals function. Oops, equals. Once again, the macro would come in handy. So now we can call the original function, call this, but what we can do is we can say, wait, hold on a second, I found a better solution while I was typing.
Yeah.
We want to look at the includes function.
Yeah, like we don't really need to like filter it, right?
Yeah. So includes is what we want. So now includes has a parameter. So we want to say item, comma, item. And of course I'm looking at skill list and not item list. So that's my bad. So we'll say var includes equals, because remember this function returns a value. So it'll either be true or false. So eventually we'll want to say return includes. However, we're looking at this dot category, and this dot category can now include the string all. So we can say var includes equals the original thing, but if this dot category equals all, return true. And then we can say, else return this guy. And we don't even need the variable because we're really not using it. So this is a case where I haven't saved it yet. So if the category
For a second there, I was terrified by your if formatting. It's already scary, right? But like I was just like, what is going on there?
So technically speaking, we don't need the else, but I'm putting it here because it makes it more legible. So this is a circumstance where we have an if statement, and if the if statement is true, then we don't even call the original function. So we only have a reference to the original function on the off chance that category is not equal to all. So I think these two functions on their own will work. Let's save this as what's the name of this plugin? All items command.
Yeah, I think all like category all item, right?
All items command. Definitely better ways to name this guy. But if I go in and I hit new game and I talk to this man who gives me a bunch of items, I can go into the item window and item, weapon, armor, key item, and then all, and bam, that's every item we own.
Now, what if, and hear me out,
Yeah.
what if we wanted all to be on the same row, right, as the rest of the commands?
That's a great question.
How would we go about doing that?
Before we get to that, I just want to go over one thing real quick, which is that so if I hit item, then potion is selected. If I go back and then potion is selected. If I go weapon, sword is selected. Armor, shield is selected. Key item, nothing because it's empty. But if I go to all, something weird happens. It's the bottom thing. It's in fact it's nothing. It's the last option and it's null, and that's weird. Is null even an option? No, it's not.
So I think we need to set a last index, right?
Yeah. So there are a couple things that we want to do. So we go to includes, window item list includes. We check to see if this is an item, is a weapon, is an armor, is an item. And where's... Here we go, item list. So, if I go to gameparty.all items, let me see what it shows me.
Wait, I think I know what this is. We have a blank item.
Yeah, we've got a blank item.
So, like we have... Yeah, so so if you look at the database, we actually ran into this in one of the projects we worked on. So yeah, if you look at items,
no, I don't think that's it. Because with armor,
there's no blank items. Okay.
Yeah. So here's what I think is going on. I think we say
is it accounting for like the 0th index? Like that's not a thing though, right? For the database things.
So I want to say if item equals null, then return false. But if includes null is a function call. So, let's just real quick say if item equals null, return false. Sorry, let me fix that. Let me just real quick do that and see what happens. Have some items, thank you. So we're all good here. Key items, this is an empty thing. And then all, look at that. It's fixed. And that is because it looks like we were pushing a null at the very end.
Null.
Yeah, because
the only thing that could be is probably the 0th index item, but like we shouldn't be adding that, right? Like that shouldn't be a thing.
So I'm not sure why this is here, but this is doing something where maybe we actually want to change the structure here. Item isn't equal to null, then we return true. Otherwise, we return this. So that way, um, so what's going on here is there are circumstances in which maybe we want to push null. Like maybe if the item list is empty, that might be when null wants to be pushed. I don't know. I don't have to worry about that because that's not the list I'm working on. The list I'm working
Actually,
on.
let's check that out. So what if you checked all before you talk to the cat?
Oh yeah, actually, great question. Here, let me real quick save. Um, so I'll hit new game and I'll say item. So it seems to be okay. Oh no, that's
For all,
key
not for
item.
key
I'm
item.
silly. So it seems to be
Okay,
okay.
yeah. So it does account for a blank list.
Yeah. So it looks like it tries to push null at the end, and because it's allowed to, it adds an extra blank. So now your question was, can we fit all 5 onto one page?
Yeah, it'll be a bit of a squeeze,
It'll be
but
a
I do
squeeze,
believe it's
but
possible.
we're allowed to do that. So not window item list, we want item category. So we want to look at item category belongs to window horse command. Now window horse command, actually window item category itself specifies the amount of max columns. So we can just take this guy and then just set it to 5. And that should show all five columns. Yep, there we go.
Oh, it actually fits really nicely.
It actually looks perfectly fine, yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Now,
thank you, padding.
if
Right?
I set this to 12, and it should, I mean, yep,
Oh no.
it looks a lot less good.
I mean, at that point, you just want to use icons, right, for
Yeah.
tabs.
But yeah, if you want
Okay.
all items, like if you want that option, then that is something that you can set up within three functions.
Yeah. So, command windows, they're pretty helpful, right? You can do a lot with them. Um, Now, whenever you're making like your own windows, you'll have to make the call of whether you want to make a window selectable or window command. We hope we have illustrated like why you want to do one over the other, but sort of look at what functions you get as a result of making one derived from one or the other, right? But there's good reason to do these instead of window based, right? Because they enable you to process inputs, right? To be able to do things like, hey, I'm hovering over a thing, right? And that's showing me a certain bit of information, right? There's certain types of windows that will prefer to be one of these.
Mhm.
Um,
All right, let's take a 3-minute break, and then let's do the next segment of the stream.
Yeah. I'll take this chance to take any questions. Isiah's still in chat. So yeah, Isiah, feel free to ask us about. Yeah, I mean, you probably already know, right? But like, if you anything with sort of command windows, right? Just let us know, right? And we can look into it
I'm
before we do a bit of a demo.
I'm going to use the bathroom, so if you're available to take questions, then I will leave it in your capable hands.
Leave it to me. The one thing you'll have to be aware of is I can't actually move the video on the screen. So I'll just be typing the solutions out in chat. Yeah, hopefully, so the VOD will definitely need some edits, right? But hopefully, those are 3 functions that illustrated like all kinds of cool things you could do. So Scylla says nothing really, just enjoying the stream so far. Great job explaining things. Thank you. We're slowly getting better at it. We did panic a little bit there, be like, hey, no, the solution that we came up with, why isn't it working? And turns out it was a very dumb reason. Um, as is always the case with programming, right? It's yeah, like computers take things very literally, right? So we just sort of have to adapt, right, to their way of thinking, right, to make wonderful things such as games. So now that we've covered Windows, a number of different kinds. There's still other kinds of Windows, but from this sort of base of knowledge, I think most people should be pretty good. Um, right, just being able to either make their own windows, right, edit them, show different forms of information kind of within them. So I guess my question is, and even if folks watch the VOD, right, feel free to respond to the comments. Where would you like to take this stuff from here, right? What part of RPG Maker code are you interested in? What part of plugin development would you like us to tackle next? We could try Sprite, right? That there's a lot to cover for sprites, right? And like how they work, right? How like battlers are arranged, how things are drawn to a screen. We can also like do a bit of a like just a graphics tutorial, right? Like just show like, hey, here's all the things you can do with Pixie, right? Things that image manipulation using code, right? Like that kind of stuff we can cover. We can get into battle system stuff. We may want to do MZ, right? Like focus on that, right? And sort of illustrate the differences between MV and MZ. I was talking about Sprite earlier. That is one of the huge differences between MV and MZ. The way MV and MZ do plugin commands is also pretty different. So those are definitely things that we can go into, right? One thing that we could potentially also do for these streams is rather than have sort of a tutorial topic, have sort of an ongoing project. Um, with the idea that like as we build this project together, we are solving certain problems, right, in development. And so the idea is that we start this project, right, and then the next time we pick up on it, right, will be like after we've solved this particular problem, with the goal of like eventually making it like a cute little game, right, or something. Just using plugin side stuff, right, and less sort of focusing on right base kind of RPG Maker things.
I
It could be
refuse to
something
make
dumb like
games.
making right like making a flight simulator within RPG Maker, right? That would be I don't know if that would be a good use of our time, right? But that could definitely be a thing.
I love making things in RPG Maker that are not RPGs. It's my favorite thing to do.
We should try to make an RPG, right? Like just make an RPG because the one thing that like plugins enable us to do, but we sort of lost out on, right, is that the reason RPG Maker became like kind of as big as it did was because it did things that defied the engine, but
Hmm.
also the stuff that were like stuck to the engine was so surprisingly solid, right? Like working within those constraints, right? That we got a lot of cool games out of it during the 2K3 era, right?
Yeah.
Um, and this is also why, like, occasionally, right? Like, people forget about RPG Maker for 5 years, and then like the next big game comes out and it's made in RPG Maker, right? Um, like we saw that with Omori, we saw that with Fear and Hunger, right? Um, right? We're gonna keep seeing that, right? Like we're gonna get like folks that are like developing their games in RPG Maker for like 10 years on like gobbledygook code, right? But because the concept is really good, it is able to succeed for on those terms.
Mhm.
Okay, Isilla apparently really wants to make a flight simulator. Uh, can we accommodate that, Isaiah?
um,
All
well, not today.
right. Yeah. All right. So we want to showcase Declared Fantasy. Let's try to get sound on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
So let me just check on stream.
yeah. I'm looking at making sure that I didn't turn down the volume when I tested it briefly. Okay, it's making sound,
Okay.
and then I may end up
Excellent.
turning the
So
sound down. We'll see.
yeah, sure. Whatever you need. So a bit of introduction before we jump into the game. Deck Builder Fantasy is a game made using card game combat. It is by Cyril Splutterworth, who is on the server. And yeah, they put together this game and put it up on Steam, right? And even released an expansion for it. So let's check it out. They're not in chat, but they did say they would check out the VOD. So let's give it a fair shake. I say take it away.
All right. So, and I want to say I have not booted up this game except to I have not played this game. I've only checked to make sure that it like worked.
It's a blind playthrough.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So the way that the game is structured initially, right, is pretty cool because King's Tower is the demo, right, and then they can add additional DLCs kind of from there, and then the characters work the same way, right? Is that like you sort of have this row that is it's a game map, right? That this is all on, which is very cool. So Isiah, I don't believe this is update. So Cyril's working on the update. They took a bit of a break right before, like after they did the initial release. So this is the initial release. We would like to showcase it, give it a fair shake because Isiah's not played it, right?
Yeah.
So Isiah, let us know your thoughts as you're playing through it.
Absolutely. So I'm looking to make sure that I have. I can see a 2 cost. Okay, I've got 5 AP, so I should be good. Okay. Now you're stunned for a turn. And then 10 damage versus all enemies, but then I won't be able to block. Ah, okay. And then that's going to do it for my turn.
Yeah, and you can see the attack and block values next to the HP. That'll all be at the top.
I'm just going to turn the volume down just a little bit. Set it to about... By a little bit, I of course mean half. But I think it's good now. Okay. Intimidate. Attack 1 versus 1 enemy stacking. Oh, attack minus
so
1.
that
Okay. So that reduces.
Yeah, so that reduces their attack. Yeah, and it's really good for like longer fights.
Yeah. 10 damage versus 1 to 2 random enemies. I like the less than equal sign. That's I'm a big fan. Yeah, let's do let's add some defense. So I've got 8 defense. And then so this is 10 damage, but this is 10 damage to everybody for the same cost.
Right, so the reason that you may want to use slash is because the hits can land on the same target, so they can like you can potentially take out one of those enemies if you get lucky.
Yeah.
But I do think right now sweep is a little bit better.
Yeah. And then I've got 1 AP left, 4 damage versus an enemy. That's not going to take anybody out, so let's... Yeah. So let's decrease your attack. You're going to be here the longest. I'm really liking the art.
Yeah, one of the things that I think this game does really well is that like the animations are very right. Like the gameplay, like the feel is quite good.
Yep. And then they've added their own block, which is rude. But I'm pretty sure sweep will get through Dorsum A, and it'll nearly take out Dorsum B. So I feel good about this. 3 damage versus 1 enemy. Think. Honestly, I'll take out... No, this guy would do more damage. Yeah. That's gonna do me. And then... Yeah, this is a good time for slash. Yep, Discord definitely did crash. Hey, only twice in the past. Why does it have to open in my main monitor? Hold on a second. I drag it into my alternate monitor, and then it opens in the main monitor anyway. Hello, I'm here.
Hey.
Okay, so the good news is, I think I could just share the one screen instead of my whole monitor, and maybe that should mitigate. Doxed again, says Isiah.
Yeah, we need to be pretty careful about these streams with this point on.
I open my Discord and it immediately opens in the main monitor. So
yeah, so we may want to like reset like which monitor it spawns on, right?
Yeah.
So there's also like doesn't streamer mode should help you out with that, right? But unfortunately, it does not seem to be the case.
Yeah. I really like this node system.
Yeah, so this node system predates the node system that we have put in 1.6.0 by like a good bit. So yeah, Cyril was able to figure out a pretty decent method, right, for doing branching paths, right, just on the game map. The map is also very active, right? Like there's just like a lot of critters and stuff moving around. It's quite nice.
All right. So I'll immediately, since you're the only enemy, I'll just reduce your attack and not have to deal with that as much. If I've got two, I'll stun you for one turn. Not doing anything right now, and then just 6 HP I can take out next turn. Now let's see if we've got slash. Yep, that should do it. Done. One of the easiest peasies I've ever experienced. 33 coins, and then, well, I'll take a zero cost card for sure.
So one recommendation that I believe both Isiah and I had for the game was to use one of Isillah's plugins, which allows you to display the skill description on screen, right?
Yes.
Which would be helpful, right, in making the reward picks. But there is some benefit to like, just being like, hey, that I like the look of that card, right? What does it do, right?
Yeah.
They also, edited it such that the game doesn't open up on the menu; it opens up directly on the card library, right? Which is pretty neat.
Yeah. Draws cards until you have 7 in hand. Discard your hand, shuffle your deck, redraw hand. Cover all your HP. Okay. Oh, and it ends your turn. Okay, that makes sense. I want to buy one more of these, and then I'm gonna save it until I can afford another HP vial. And then let's take a look at card modify. Let's upgrade punch. Cool. Punch plus 8 damage, ignores armor. Nobody's got armor, but that's okay. HP plus 10, 10 damage to all enemies. That's going to be what I look at. Now 8 damage is lethal. Now this draws a card and gives me 2 AP. Yeah, so I think we're gonna survive this turn without taking any damage and take out one guy, and I think that's gonna be the turn. Really nice, like, info presentation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a lot with moving our UI around.
Yeah.
And that's something that we are going to encourage everybody that picks up CGC to do. I mean, we give one potential option, right, for like a UI composition, but you can get pretty crazy with it, right? And this kind of presentation is really clean, right? It just helps the game just feel faster, right?
Yeah.
Which I think it's very successful in doing.
I'll take another zero cost for sure. And then let's see what that does. Discard a card plus 2 AP. Okay. Ooh. Vigor and Fury are like opposites of each other. Let me... I'm gonna try and modify. I'm gonna upgrade Fury. See what happens. I cannot upgrade Fury. You hate to see
I
it.
don't believe it's not one of the upgradables, unfortunately.
Oh well. Well, now we know. Cut plus. Okay, so you're gonna 22. Okay, so my immediate thought is block right off the bat. Now I've got 21. He's got 22 attack.
So maybe you want to try drawing a card, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about drawing a card.
Yeah.
Slash is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because like against a single enemy, right? Like that pays off extremely well.
Yeah.
Right? But sweep is better against multiple enemies.
-1 attack is definitely good because that'll make me take exactly 0 damage. I'll wanna upgrade Intimidate if I can at some point.
Yeah, it does seem like a good thing for like longer fights, right? Or against like
2
elites
AP.
like this one.
Which I do not need to use any of my 2 AP cards, so I'm just gonna end my turn. I could use an item. I want to save those if possible. 3 damage versus an enemy stun for a turn. I like that.
The Cyril is very kind to let you stun elites.
I could feel you going, I would never allow this.
No. So the way that you do it is that you allow it, right? And then they get a resistance to it, right? So you sort of have to budget when in the fight that you sort of allow that. Because otherwise you can kind of like, against single powerful enemies, you can just stun lock them, right? Imagine if you got like 2 thrusts, right? You just keep cycling them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like, okay, all right, I will never take damage.
And then I'm gonna draw a card. That's really nice. Boom.
Well done. Took no damage.
Dodge, meditate, flurry. Ooh. I'm gonna go with flurry. Elite battle or reward choice. I'm immediately like, I'll go reward.
So it may be worth looking at like the notes after. To sort of, like, plan
for
it
sure.
out a bit. Yeah.
Let's get another. Let's see what renew is. So renew draws 2 cards. Cannot say no to that. Flurry 15 damage versus all enemies. And then intimidate was the thing I wanted to upgrade if possible. Let's upgrade Intimidate. Intimidate plus. And then... Ooh. Battle, item shop, battle, or card modify, elite battle, item shop. I'm gonna go with card modify.
I think the elite battle is definitely something to look forward to, right? Because you have your intimidate plus.
Yeah. Let's do... Now, thrust was the 2 random enemies, right?
No, I believe thrust is the stun one, which is
Okay.
pretty good. But you really only need the stun function of it. You don't
Yeah.
really care about the damage so much.
Then slash is the 2 random enemies, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then we're gonna upgrade that. 3 damage versus 1 enemy stun for a turn. Immediately pop that. And then we'll cut. And then guard. $10 damage times 2 versus 2 random enemies. Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
You may be able to defeat them this turn.
I think that is... I think I have done it.
Let's go.
I'm too strong. All right. Let's take a meditate. Item shop. Now we want to buy an HP vial. And then I think that's all we need to worry about. HP recover and then map boss. Let's do it. Okay, so now I can't stun them this time, unfortunately. But maybe I could draw 2 cards.
You might be able to, yeah, you may be able to draw into it. The deck sizes are fairly low.
Ooh. So I mean, I'll
There's
draw
no reason
more.
not to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just draw your entire deck, right? Keep drawing thrust, right?
Get stunned. And then let's get some more AP. Rally is HP plus 10. Who needs that? I've never needed HP in my life. And then this guy is discarded to get 2 AP, which I can use to add some defense. Yeah. And I'll discard this guy. And then let's get him some defense. Now here's 40 damage. Oh, it's now all enemies. Very nice.
Right.
Let's draw a card. Let's draw 2 cards.
Yeah. Let's keep chaining draw cards.
I mean, it's working for me so far.
Turns out in the card game, if you have cards, you win. Who would have thought?
And then I did all of that just to stun him.
Something that I'm noticing is also your defense like stacks over turns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can like build up a pretty big like kind of bunker that the enemy has to deal with.
Okay. So we want. So this is 15 damage. This is 20 damage, and then I can get to 28 defense. Okay. We'll get rally, and then I mean I can do 8 damage and then take damage, or I can get 28 defense and then tank the hit.
So one thing. Oh. So I was going to encourage you to use items, right? Because you're nearly done with the boss, right? And you could use them to like draw into stuff. The items are nuts, right? They're very strong.
Oh yeah.
For what they are.
I just want to acknowledge Isiah said easiest what? Probably in response to me saying easiest peasy. You know the phrase easy peasy lemon squeezy? This is the easiest peasy lemon squeezy. Draw 2 cards with no skills in hand, but alas, I have nothing but skills.
Oh no. So if you have no skills in hand, it gives you bonus AP. So the draw two cards happens regardless.
Yeah. I know. I'm just like, I'll never get that bonus because I'm always like stocked up on
Yeah.
skill cards.
I do like cards like that because they sort of encourage you to deck build in a particular way. Like not running any skills, right? You just run attacks, right?
All right.
And that way you like meditate into attacks like all the time.
And then we punch.
Well done.
Ooh. Pureza,
Now, here's
Zweihander, and Blade Storm.
Yeah. Here's the meanest thing this game does. Is that you get a cool card and you don't even get to try it out unless you buy the full version of the game.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's so cruel.
Yes. Well done, Cyril.
Oh my god. That's really funny. No, I love it.
Okay.
That's
Right,
how
so
you
that's
upsell.
Absolutely. Yeah, like they set it up really well, right? Like they have a demo. It's like it's not too difficult, right? It's very easy to sort of grasp the mechanics, right, of the game. You do see the larger sort of possibility space, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it may be a good way to sort of get people to kind of upgrade, right? For that. Oh dear, people now know your Steam account.
Damn it. I can't get rid of it.
This tree has been awful.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We are definitely editing this spot.
This is
Okay. All right. Yeah. So let's get your thoughts, Isiah. How'd you feel about the game?
So I really enjoy. There's a lot of like there's a lot of effort into like the ambiance. Ambiance is the wrong word, but like there's things on the map that are like moving around. There's things to look at, and then like in battle, there's a lot of like the UI has been like customized in really cool ways. The information density is really nice. Like there's no point where I'm like I'm never like overwhelmed, you know, by what I'm looking at. I feel like I have all the information that I need. I'm really enjoying the art. The boss designs are very cool. The characters are animated. I would maybe spread the cards out a little more in terms of like hand
sort of,
fan. That might be like the one aesthetic note that I have.
Yeah, I do agree, right? Because you do have a little bit more space to work with. While that does risk getting in the like potentially encroaching on the description like space, I think that like there's a good solution kind of for it. Yeah, I completely agree. It's something that you can kind of get to work.
Something else I would do is because I noticed that this game is not using highlight sprites except for when discarding, which I think is completely fine. What I would do is I would have like a highlight sprite that is just a circle around the cost to indicate that you can afford the card.
Right.
And that's
because that's something that like to make your options easier as you're losing AP, right? So you know what you can't play essentially.
Yeah. And that should be doable within CGC. You should be able to have a highlight sprite that is just like essentially like the top corner of it is blank, and then it's just like a transparent circle or something to that effect.
Another potential way to use the highlight sprite is you can actually use the highlight sprite to kind of dim the card, right? Like you throw in a mask over it. Right, and like that could be another way to indicate that like, hey, you can't play this anymore. Right?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
okay, yeah.
I guess like gameplay wise, my one note is that like Well, this isn't one note, but it's like a broader note, which is that I never took damage. I think.
Yeah, doing that entire run.
Yeah, I think it's a little too easy to like to essentially do a perfect run.
Yeah, so a big contributor to that is that Thrust starts out in your opening deck,
Yeah.
and you can get more copies of Thrust, and deck sizes are small enough that you can very consistently draw into Thrust. This is what I noticed in my couple playthroughs, is that, yeah, with Thrust you can stun lock enemies, right, effectively kind of forever, and thereby, like, yeah, just that's sort of your goal, is draw into Thrust, prevent damage from coming through, such that you don't even need block cards, really, right? You just need like more damage in your deck, right, in order to kind of get through. Yeah, so I think that's where the game could expand, right? Is that potentially look at, because like stunning an enemy is a powerful thing, you do want that option available, but potentially mediate it, right? Like be like, hey, either you stun them once and then like they have like a stun block, so maybe you need to apply stun twice, right, and 4 times, right, like to be able to get this get sort of a consistent thing. Or if you have stun cards, that's really powerful. Either upcost them in AP, or you can remove the card, right, like burn it, right?
Yeah.
So you do have stuns in your deck, but you have a limited number, right? So you have to sort of determine sort of how you want to kind of use it. There's also ways that enemies can push back. Go ahead, Isiah.
Yeah, so something that I would do is because I enjoy stun build. Like if the player wants to do a build where they go, okay, I'm getting as many stun options as possible. One of the ways you can make that less powerful is just having like multiple enemies. Like for the elite enemies and for the bosses, it was always one singular enemy. But if there were 2 weaker enemies or 3 much weaker enemies, then that would mitigate that strategy. Another thing is, I think there could be something where like there's like a built-in cooldown to stun, where when an enemy gets unstunned, they immediately get into like a rage state that lasts for 1 to 2 turns, and that state makes them immune to stun until the cooldown is over. So instead of necessarily needing to hit stun twice on them, which maybe you could do anyway, maybe you could like stun to remove rage and then stun again to fully stun them. But rage will go away on its own after a certain amount of time, or something like that.
Yeah. The other thing is, so the map boss technically summons in enemies. However, given that you drew stun every single turn, right, they didn't really get to do their thing.
That's true.
And I think that's the important thing, is that the gameplay depends a lot on like kind of back and forth, right? And if like you are, because you have first turn advantage, right, you are dictating the terms of that, that does make it such that like, yeah, like I think having potentially more enemies, right, that they don't need to deal like nearly as much damage, right? But like if you have a couple more targets, then single target stuns, right, you need to decide like a little bit more of like, who do I expend this on? Potentially having other effects, right, such as you can have enemies with thorns, right? So now doing multiple attacks on them will hurt you, right? So you either have to build up block, right, kind of ahead of time, right, in order to kind of diffuse them, or take them out in kind of one hit. So different enemy variations, right, different kind of behaviors, or like even like changing kind of what stun is, right, such that like maybe stun prevents the attack component, right, of a thing, but like if they have like a debuff or something, right, that still goes through. So there's different things that you can do. None of this is not solvable, right? I think that this is a really good core to kind of build up on, and I think that you can make the deck building and like that kind of stuff more interesting, right, by having enemies make demands of the player, right? It's just like, hey, here's an enemy, it's going to be a huge problem. There's a good example of this in Slay the Spire, the card game that I always talk about, right? So an early elite enemy in Act 1, there's this like kind of like buffed up imp, right, that has a club, right? That after the first turn, every time you play a skill, right, they increase their total attack, right? Every single time that you do that, right? So that suddenly like polarizes the fight, because skills are the way that you generate block, right? So either you're just taking massive hits to the face, right, every turn, right, or you're risking taking a block this turn, but knowing that next turn they will swing back even harder, right, as a result of you doing the thing on your turn that powers them up, right? So having certain enemies that have like dynamics like that, I think is one very doable within CGC and RPG Maker, but also yeah, like can make interesting sequencing decisions right within your thing. Okay, but yeah, good game. Thanks for submitting, sir. We look forward to seeing updates on this. I want to see how different characters work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got it on my Steam, so like as soon as it's, you know, like any updates that are automatically downloaded by Steam, I'm gonna be like hell yeah, and when the full game comes out, I'm definitely checking it out.
Yeah, thank you so much for submitting, and we hope that if folks who are watching the stream or watching the VOD, if you have your own games, even if they're in sort of a demo state, please send them our way. We would love to showcase them and feature them. We love all the games that you all make, right? Using CGC, it's awesome.
All right, I think that's gonna do it.
I think that's it.
Stream. So I think.
Thank you for bearing with the. Wait, is the stream still going?
Yeah, stream's still going.
Okay, all right, good.
I just closed the game.
Yeah. Okay, all right, fair enough. Yeah, so thank you for seeing around the stream. Even though we went through multiple technical difficulties, so this VOD will almost definitely be edited, right, and re-uploaded. We will take better measures to protect Isiah.
Everything that could go wrong did. I normally take a lot of measures, and it was the ones that I didn't take that it was a problem for.
Yeah, but we did get 3 pretty useful small plugins, right, that I think make a pretty big difference for command windows. So we will be featuring them in our resources channel, right? So that if you do want to go through the VOD at a later date and sort of study up on like what you need to do, that'll be available. Okay, I think that's it. So let's sign off.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you in the next subscribe. Sorry. We'll see you in the next one.
No, that's for tutorial videos.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Do those 3 things in that order.
They have been commenting in fairness.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
Chat. Isiah has been extremely active in chat. Yeah.
All right. See y'all later.